Logan's Run didn't just imagine dystopia, it survived one. A world where death at 30 was law, where perfection demanded sacrifice, and paradise hid murder behind spectacle. But the real story wasn't on screen, it was behind it. MGM buried the budget numbers that could have killed the studio. A 2-hour costume became cinema legend, and Carousel flew on a rig so risky the crew had to rethink it mid-air. These are 15 weird facts about Logan's Run, where the production faced its own renewal and refused to burn. Number 1. No one lives past 30. Picture this. A glowing crystal embedded in your palm, counting down the days until society executes you. In Logan's Run, everyone dies at age 30 to maintain a perfect world free of overcrowding and aging. It's not murder, it's civic duty. The life clock became one of science fiction's most recognizable symbols, a brilliant visual shorthand for mortality that you could literally wear on your hand. Red means your time is up. No appeals, no exceptions, no second chances. This single concept defined the entire film and haunted audiences who couldn't stop thinking about their own life clocks ticking down. The question wasn't just philosophical anymore, it was personal. Number 2. A project that almost died before it began. MGM bought the rights to Logan's Run in 1969, convinced they had the next big sci-fi property. Then, everything fell apart. Writers clashed over whether the story should be political allegory or action thriller. Directors came and went. Studios couldn't agree on tone, budget, or message. For 7 years, the project sat in development hell while Star Trek struggled on TV and science fiction remained Hollywood's unwanted stepchild. MGM tried selling the rights multiple times. By 1975, the film should have been dead and forgotten. Instead, producer Saul David convinced MGM's new management that Sci-Fi was about to explode, pointing to the buzz around a little space opera called Star Wars in pre-production. Number 3. MGM hid the real budget. When Logan's Run went into production, MGM announced a budget of $6 million, respectable for 1975, but that number was fiction. The real cost climbed to $9 million, possibly higher, and studio executives knew it from day one. Why the lie? MGM was dying. The Golden Age studio that gave the world The Wizard of Oz and Ben-Hur was hemorrhaging money, selling assets, contemplating bankruptcy. Wall Street watched every move. If word leaked that a risky sci-fi gamble was burning through $9 million, investors would panic, creditors would circle, and the entire studio could collapse before the film wrapped. So, MGM smiled, lied, and prayed Logan's Run would earn enough to justify the deception. The gamble worked, but the studio's desperation left fingerprints all over the production. Number 4. The movie barely resembles the novel. William F. Nolan and George Clayton Johnson's 1967 novel is brutal. Citizens die at age 21, not 30. The story spans multiple cities across a chaotic, violent world. There's no carousel, no floating death ritual, just straightforward executions. Political rebellion drives the plot through complex underground networks and intercity conflicts. It's gritty, sprawling, impossible to film on MGM's secret budget. So, the screenwriters gutted it. Age raised to 30 for broader audience appeal. Multiple cities condensed to one domed complex. Earthbound instead of cosmic. And Carousel, the film's most iconic sequence, invented from scratch because they needed something visually stunning that wouldn't cost millions. Purists hated the changes. Critics called it watered down. But those compromises are the only reason the movie exists. Sometimes, survival requires transformation. Number 5. Carousel was meant to look beautiful, not violent. Death as spectacle. That's Carousel. Citizens gather to watch the renewed float upward in light and music, spinning gracefully as the audience cheers. It looks like a celebration, promises rebirth. But there is no rebirth, only fire, only death dressed as ceremony. The technical challenge was enormous. Performers had to be suspended on nearly invisible wires while spinning through pyrotechnic effects, all synchronized to Jerry Goldsmith's soaring score. Director Michael Anderson later admitted the rig was so dangerous they had to redesign it mid-shoot after a near accident during rehearsals. The performers wore flame-retardant bodysuits under their costumes, and each take required precise timing between the wire operators, fire effects crew, and lighting team. Michael York called it the most terrifying sequence to watch being filmed, beautiful and horrifying at once. Number 6. Michael York almost didn't take the role. Michael York wasn't interested in science fiction. His career thrived on period dramas, sophisticated comedies, literary adaptations, not chrome suits and laser guns. When MGM offered him Logan 5, he read the script, found it strange, and seriously considered passing. Then came a conversation with a friend who saw something York missed. This wasn't just sci-fi, it was philosophy disguised as action. What does it mean to question your entire society? To realize your life is a lie? To choose truth even when ignorance is paradise? York reconsidered. He took the role, brought dramatic weight to a character who could have been just another action hero, and delivered a performance that elevated every scene he touched. One conversation changed his mind. One choice saved the film's emotional core. Number 7. It made audio history. Logan's Run holds a place in cinema history that has nothing to do with plot or visuals. It was the first film ever released in Dolby Stereo on 70mm prints, a technical breakthrough that changed how movies sound forever. Before this, theater audio was primitive, tinny, flat, barely surround. Dolby's multi-channel system delivered clarity, depth, spatial dimension. Jerry Goldsmith's orchestral score suddenly lived in 3 dimensions, wrapping around audiences, hitting emotional beats with unprecedented power. The chase sequences roared. Carousel's music floated ethereally through the theater. Quiet moments carried intimacy never before possible in large venues. Most audiences didn't notice. Sound design works best when invisible, but filmmakers noticed. 2 years later, Star Wars would use Dolby to revolutionize blockbuster sound. Logan's Run proved it worked first. Number 8. Its futuristic tech was recycled. Here's a secret MGM didn't advertise. The computer terminals, control panels, and high-tech equipment filling Logan's futuristic city weren't built for this film. They were leftovers. Specifically, storage crates from Westworld, Michael Crichton's 1973 sci-fi thriller about murderous androids. When that production wrapped, MGM kept everything, computers, monitors, flashing lights, and stuffed them in a warehouse. 2 years later, Logan's Run needed a future on a budget, so the crew grabbed those Westworld props, repainted them, rearranged them, and called them new. Audiences never noticed. Why would they? Props are set dressing until story gives them meaning. One film's androids became another's dystopian surveillance state. Nothing was wasted, nothing was new, just smart filmmaking disguised as futurism. Number 9. Logan's iconic robe was made in 2 hours. Day 1 of principal photography. Director Michael Anderson watches dailies and realizes Logan's costume is wrong, too stiff, too formal, no movement. He wants something flowing, something that suggests freedom even in captivity. Problem: shooting resumes in hours, and costume designer Bill Thomas has no approved alternatives. So Thomas improvises. No sketches, no planning, no studio approval. He grabs black fabric, scissors, and a sewing machine, working frantically to create something, anything that might work. 2 hours later, Logan's signature robe exists. Anderson sees it, loves it, and the costume becomes iconic. Film history remembers that robe, dark, simple, perfect. Film history forgets it was panic disguised as inspiration, made in a frantic race against the shooting clock. Number 10. The romance was added by studio demand. Early drafts of Logan's Run featured no love story. Logan and Jessica were partners, allies, fellow escapees, but not lovers. The script focused on ideas: freedom, mortality, rebellion. MGM read it, panicked, and demanded romance. Why? Marketing. Test audiences in 1975 wanted emotional stakes, not philosophical debates. They wanted to feel, not think. So screenwriter David Zella Goodman rewrote scenes mid-production, adding romantic tension, intimate moments, emotional vulnerability. Some additions worked beautifully, deepening both characters. Others felt forced, inserted awkwardly into a narrative never designed for them. York and Jenny Agutter did their best, selling the chemistry the script couldn't quite deliver. The Romance exists because MGM insisted, not because the story required it. Sometimes the best films are shaped by compromise, not vision. Number 11. Most of the city was shot in real locations. Building a futuristic city from scratch costs millions MGM didn't have. The studio was hemorrhaging money in the early 1970s, lurching from one financial crisis to another, and lavish set construction was out of the question. So production designer Dale Hennessy found a smarter solution: use reality as science fiction. He scoured American cities for buildings that didn't look like they belonged in 1976, searching for architectural anomalies that could pass as structures from 2274. What he found in Texas changed everything. The Dallas Market Center became the city's shopping complex. Its modernist architecture, all clean lines and geometric repetition, already looked futuristic without a single modification. The Fort Worth Water Gardens, with its brutalist concrete cascades and angular pools, designed by Philip Johnson, became the centerpiece of the city's public spaces, a monument to sterile civic order that needed no explanation in a world where nature had been erased. Other 1970s buildings filled in the gaps. Hennessy understood that certain architectural movements, particularly brutalism and late modernism, created structures that felt simultaneously familiar and alien, contemporary yet timeless, perfect for a future that had abandoned warmth in favor of efficiency. Number 12. The film won an Oscar, March 28, 1977. The 49th Academy Awards. Logan's Run competed for Best Visual Effects against bigger budget competitors, films with more money and larger crews, and it won. The Academy recognized something critics missed. Visual effects aren't about budget, they're about imagination. The film combined miniatures, matte paintings, practical effects, and innovative lighting to create a future that felt believable despite limited resources. Carousel alone justified the award. That sequence's choreography, lighting, and visual composition created something audiences had never seen before. The Oscar didn't just validate the effects team's work, it proved that smart filmmaking beats expensive filmmaking every time. MGM finally had something to celebrate after years of doubt and secrecy. One golden statue justified everything. Number 13. The cats were completely unplanned. Late in the film, Logan and Jessica discover the ruined U.S. Capitol, overtaken by nature and time. The scene required atmosphere, abandonment, decay, the sense that humanity's monuments had become tombs. What they got was better. Feral cats, real, unplanned, unbothered by cameras, wandered through the Capitol during filming. They weren't actors, weren't trained, weren't supposed to be there. Just strays living in the ruins, doing what strays do. Director Anderson kept them. Why? Because their presence sold reality better than any prop or effect could. Those cats proved the world had moved on, that nature reclaimed what humans abandoned. Audiences didn't question it. Cats belong in forgotten places. Sometimes the best moments aren't scripted. They just wander in and stay. Number 14. Jenny's costume was designed to signal innocence. Costume designer Bill Thomas understood something crucial. In a world of sterile uniforms and identical citizens, clothing can be rebellion. Jenny Agutter Jessica wears flowing, almost translucent gowns throughout the film. Soft fabrics, light colors, designs that suggest vulnerability and openness. The contrast is deliberate. Everyone else wears chrome, plastic, synthetic materials that scream future. Jessica wears fabrics that breathe, that move naturally, that feel human. Even before she questions the system, before she runs, her clothing marks her as different. The costume whispers what the character hasn't yet realized. She doesn't belong in this sterile world. She's already free, even if she doesn't know it yet. Visual. Storytelling at its finest. The audience reads her arc before she does. Number 15. The final film was shaped by test audiences. Logan's Run finished shooting with a rough cut that ran longer, darker, more complex than what theaters eventually showed. The original assembly was closer to 2.5 hours, packed with extended sequences exploring the City of Dome's social structure, deeper character development for Logan and Jessica, and darker implications about the society's origins. Then came test screenings. The MPAA threatened an R rating for violence, particularly scenes showing the brutal efficiency of Sandmen eliminating runners. MGM wanted PG for broader appeal, desperate to recoup their investment by ensuring the film could play to families and teenagers without parental restriction. The studio was bleeding money and couldn't afford an R rating that would cut the potential audience in half. So, editor Bob Wyman spent 8 months cutting, reshaping, removing entire subplots and character moments that slowed the pace or complicated the message. Some scenes were trimmed by seconds, reactions shortened, pauses eliminated, breathing room sacrificed for momentum. Others vanished completely. Extended scenes in the outside world, a subplot involving Francis's growing suspicion, moments of genuine horror regarding Carousel's true purpose. What survives is leaner, faster, more accessible, but also simpler, less ambitious. Film scholars still debate what was lost. Home video releases added some deleted scenes over the decades, but others are believed gone forever. The film we know is the compromise between what the filmmakers wanted to say and what the market would accept. Logan's run proved that imagination beats budget every time. Oscar-winning effects, groundbreaking sound, and iconic imagery built from borrowed props and desperate inspiration. If you loved these forgotten facts, hit subscribe for more retro cinema secrets. Your life clock is ticking. Make every view count.